The text message glowed on my phone screen like a neon accusation. "Don't bring Hazel. Riley's fiancé doesn't want kids running around." My fingers trembled as I set the phone face down on our oak kitchen table, the same table where my daughter sat not 3 feet away, humming to herself as she meticulously applied another layer of glitter to her grandmother's birthday card. The morning sun caught the sparkles, sending tiny rainbows dancing across Hazel's focused face. "Look, Mama." She held up her creation, pride radiating from her gap-toothed smile. "I'm making it extra sparkly for Grammy." The lump in my throat threatened to choke me. "It's beautiful, honey." Just yesterday, I'd sent my mother $800 to help with her birthday celebration. $800 that could have gone toward Hazel's summer camp, but Mom had called crying about wanting everything to be perfect, and like always, I'd given in. My father Walter's slippered footsteps shuffled into the kitchen. Since moving in with us after his retirement, he'd developed a routine of morning coffee and crossword puzzles. But today he paused, weathered mechanic's hands gripping his coffee mug as he studied my face. "Everything okay, Lena?" I shook my head, not trusting my voice. He set his mug down and peered at my phone screen when I turned it over. His jaw tightened, the same way it used to when Mom would make excuses for Riley's behavior growing up. "Grammy's going to love it," Hazel announced, oblivious to the tension as she reached for more glue. "I practiced my song too. Want to hear it?" Before I could answer, she launched into a warbling rendition of Happy Birthday, complete with choreographed hand movements she'd been perfecting all week. Each enthusiastic gesture sent glitter cascading onto the table. The front door opened, and Tyler's keys jangled in the bowl by the entrance. He'd probably forgotten his lunch again, but one look at my face stopped him in the doorway. "What happened?" His eyes darted between me and Walter, picking up on the heavy silence. I handed him my phone. His face darkened as he read, green eyes narrowing. "You've got to be kidding me." "I don't want to talk about it here," I whispered, nodding toward Hazel. She was still singing, adding extra flourishes to each note, completely unaware that her grandmother had just deemed her presence unwanted at what was supposed to be a family celebration. Tyler's hand found my shoulder, squeezing gently. "We'll figure this out." But there was nothing to figure out. The text message just confirmed what I'd spent years trying to ignore. The way Mom always praised Riley's academic achievements while dismissing Hazel's art projects. How she showed up for every one of Riley's events but had endless excuses for missing Hazel's dance recitals. Walter set his coffee down with a sharp clink. "I think I'll take a drive." I knew that tone. It was the same one he'd used last Christmas when Mom had given Riley's kids expensive tablets while Hazel got dollar store coloring books. "Dad, don't." "Just going to clear my head." He kissed the top of Hazel's head as he passed. "Beautiful card, sweetheart." As soon as he left, I grabbed my car keys. "I need to handle something," I told Tyler. "Can you watch Hazel?" He nodded, understanding in his eyes. We'd been married long enough for him to recognize when I'd reached my breaking point. The 45-minute drive to Mom's house passed in a blur of memories. Riley's college tuition, $24,000 I'd provided while working overtime. The countless times I'd covered Mom's bills when she'd overspent on my sister. The way Riley had looked down her nose at my small-town life, while cashing my checks without a single thank you. I gripped the steering wheel harder, knuckles white. What would they tell Hazel? That she wasn't refined enough? Too energetic? Not as well behaved as Riley's future stepchildren? Mom's house came into view. The house I'd helped furnish. Right down to the welcome mat I'd bought last spring. I parked in the driveway, my tears long dried and replaced by something harder. When Mom opened the door, surprise flickered across her face. "Lena, what are you doing here?" I met her gaze steadily. "We need to talk about what family really means." I stepped past her into the foyer, breathing in the familiar scent of vanilla candles and furniture polish. "We need to talk about the party, Mom." She sighed, leading me to the kitchen where she'd been arranging flowers, no doubt for some garden club meeting. "There's nothing to discuss. It's a grown-up event." "Hazel is 8 years old," I said, my voice tight. "She's been working on your birthday card for a week." "Oh, honey," Mom's tone dripped with condescension. "Hazel is just too energetic. You know how she gets. We can't risk her disrupting things." The kitchen door swung open and Riley breezed in, wearing a designer dress I knew she couldn't afford on her entry-level salary. The same salary that hadn't stopped her from accepting thousands in loans from me over the years. I thought I heard voices, Riley said, not quite meeting my eyes. Lena, you're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. Tim's parents are very particular about these things. I pressed my palms flat against the cool granite countertop. The $800 I sent was supposed to help with the party. Now you're telling me my daughter can't even attend? Mom waved her hand dismissively. Oh, that money went to upgrading the catering. Tim's parents are very influential in the business community. We need to make the right impression. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. They'd used my money to impress strangers while excluding my child. So you took my contribution and used it to throw a party my daughter isn't welcome at? My voice cracked. To impress your future in-laws? Riley rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic, it's just one party. A floorboard creaked behind me, and I turned to find Dad standing in the doorway, his weathered face set in lines of disappointment. He must have followed me here, worried. If Lena and Hazel aren't welcome, he said quietly, I'm not coming either. Mom's face flushed red. After everything I've done for this family, years of cooking and cleaning and I supported this family without complaint. Dad cut in, his calm voice carrying more weight than any shout. But I won't stand by while my granddaughter is treated like an inconvenience. The drive home stretched like a lifetime, memories of similar slights flooding back. Riley's dance recitals attended with fanfare while my academic awards earned barely a nod. The loans that were never repaid. The constant criticism wrapped in sugary concern. Tyler W.S. waiting at our kitchen table when I got home. I sank into a chair, emotionally drained. What happened? Tyler asked, his hand finding mine. I told him everything. The party, the money, the casual cruelty of it all. What do you want to do? Tyler squeezed my fingers. Without a word, I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder labeled Family Expenses. Inside lay years of carefully documented receipts, a habit born from too many forgotten loans and contributions. The numbers scrolled past. $1,300-70. Smart television. $1,000. French door refrigerator. $700. Front-loading washer. Furniture. Appliances. Repairs. The total made my stomach clench. $38,427. I reached for my phone, finding the number for a local resale dealer I'd researched during the drive home. My fingers trembled as I dialed. Yes, I need to arrange a pickup, I said, my voice steady despite the tornado in my chest. Multiple items. Tomorrow, if possible. When I hung up, my eyes fell on Hazel's birthday card sitting on the counter, covered in glitter and love from a child who had no idea her grandmother saw her as an embarrassment. I picked up the card, my resolve hardening like steel. They'd made their choice. Now it was time to make mine. On the day of the birthday party, the morning sun blazes across Gloria's manicured lawn, casting long shadows through streamers and balloons. Jazz music floats from the expensive speaker system I bought last Christmas. The one Gloria bragged came from careful budgeting. Guests mill around tables draped in cream linens, champagne flutes glinting in their hands. I park my SUV at the curb, the moving truck rumbling to a stop behind me. My hands don't shake as I check the itemized list one final time. Years of receipts, organized by date and purchase. The movers, 3 broad-shouldered men in crisp uniforms, wait for my signal. Everything's labeled inside, I tell them. If anyone tries to stop you, call the police. They nod, professional and detached. This isn't their first recovery operation. Aunt Marlene spots me first, waving from beside the drinks table. Lena, we were wondering when you'd arrive. Where's that sweet girl of yours? The question twists in my chest, but I keep walking, my heels clicking against the flagstone path. Other guests call out greetings. I hear the whispers, "Start, where's Hazel? Why is Lena alone? What's with the truck?" The Bluetooth speaker pumps out another jazz standard, some smooth Kenny G number that probably cost me $200 to download. I trace my finger along its sleek surface, remembering the day I bought it, how Gloria had hinted for weeks about wanting better sound quality for entertaining. I pull the plug. Silence drops like a curtain. This speaker, I announced to the startled faces turning my way, was paid for with my money, and I have the receipts to prove it. Gloria emerges from the house, her face flushing dark red beneath her carefully applied makeup. Lena, what do you think you're doing? Collecting what's mine. I gesture to the movers, who file past with practiced efficiency. The television in the living room, the washer and dryer, the refrigerator, all paid for by me. Riley appears in the doorway, her fiancé Tim beside her. She's wearing the designer dress I helped her buy for her engagement photos. Have you lost your mind? This is Mom's birthday party. Yes, I say, my voice steady. The party where my daughter wasn't welcome. The guests shift uncomfortably. Aunt Marlene steps forward, her lined face creased with concern. What does she mean, Gloria? Where's Hazel? I pull out my phone, finding the text with trembling fingers. Don't bring Hazel, I read aloud. Riley's fiancé doesn't want kids running around. I look directly at Tim. Did you know about this? His face darkens. I never said anything about not wanting children here. Of course you didn't, I say. Because that was just their excuse. The movers emerge with the television, carefully navigating it through the French doors. Gloria lunges forward. You can't do this. Those are gifts. No, I correct her. Gifts are given freely, without strings or manipulation. These were investments in your approval you never intended to give. Riley blocks the mover's path. This is ridiculous. You're just jealous because Tim's family has connections and you're trying to ruin everything like always. Jealous? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Should we talk about the $24,000 I paid for your education? The money you told Tim came from Mom and Dad? Tim's head snaps toward Riley. You told me your parents paid for your schooling. They did help, Riley stammers. Lena she offered. She didn't offer, Gloria cuts in. She owed us, after everything we did for her. Everything you did for me? The words taste bitter. Let's list everything I've done for you. The appliances, the furniture, the cash whenever Riley needed just a little help. Even the $800 I sent for this party, which you spent upgrading the catering to impress Tim's parents. Guests begin edging toward their cars. Tim stares at Riley like he's seeing her for the first time. If you think this behavior is acceptable, he says quietly, I can't see a future with us. He walks away, ignoring Riley's desperate grab for his arm. She crumples, mascara streaming down her cheeks. Tim, wait. I watch him go, feeling nothing but a dull ache. The movers continue their work, methodically dismantling the life I funded. Police are on their way, Gloria announces, waving her phone. They'll stop this. Good, I say. They can verify ownership with the receipts I've kept. Every purchase, every transfer, every time you needed something that somehow became a debt I owed you. I don't want your things. I continue, my voice softening. I want respect for my daughter. I want you to understand that excluding her, treating her as less than Riley's future stepchildren has consequences. Riley lunges for a lamp the movers are wrapping. You can't take everything. Where are we supposed to get the money to replace all this? The same place I did, I tell her. Work for it. Aunt Marlene catches my arm as I turn to leave. Lena, she whispers, good for you. It's about time someone stood up to them. I squeeze her hand, then walk away from the ruins of the party. Behind me, I hear Gloria's shrill voice, Riley's sobs, the efficient sounds of the movers continuing their work. The morning sun still shines. The streamers still flutter. But something has shifted, irreversibly, like a door finally closing on a room I should have left long ago. The party had scattered like leaves in a storm. A few lingering guests made hushed exits through the side gate, their murmured goodbyes trailing behind them. I stood in the wreckage of what should have been a celebration, watching the movers load the last of my belongings into their truck. Hazel's birthday card burned in my pocket. A week of careful crafting, every sequin placed with love, every crayon stroke deliberate. My fingers traced its edges as I crossed the yard toward my mother. Gloria perched on a deck chair like a queen holding court, though her subjects had deserted her. Her coral lipstick was slightly smeared, the only visible crack in her carefully maintained facade. Despite everything, I said, extending the card, she still loves her grandmother. She spent a week on this. Something flickered in my mother's eyes. A hesitation, a softening. For a heartbeat, I saw the woman who used to sing me to sleep, who taught me to bake snickerdoodles, who held my hand on the first day of kindergarten. Then her jaw tightened. She took the card with 2 fingers, as if it might contaminate her. The sound of tearing paper cut through the afternoon quiet like a gunshot. Your daughter ruined everything. The pieces fluttered to the ground, glitter catching the sunlight as they fell. Each torn fragment represented a year of trying to earn her love, of making excuses for her behavior, of teaching my daughter to believe in a grandmother who didn't deserve her devotion. Riley burst from the house, her mascara creating dark rivers down her cheeks. "Because of you, I lost him." She lunged forward, hand raised. Before I could react, Dad's fingers wrapped around her wrist. I hadn't even seen him move, but there he stood, steel in his spine and winter in his voice. "That's enough." Riley jerked away from him, stumbling backward. The contrast struck me, her wild emotion against my strange calm. I knelt to gather the torn pieces of Hazel's card, tucking each one away like I was collecting pieces of my own shattered childhood. The screen door creaked. Dad emerged with 2 remaining bags, the same ones he'd packed for our summer trips to Lake Champlain when I was young. Back then, they'd held beach towels and sunscreen. Now they held 43 years of marriage. "Walter." Mom's voice cracked on his name. "Don't do this, please." He set the bags down with gentle precision. "I warned you, Gloria, you made your choice." "Choice? What choice? She's the one stealing our furniture, humiliating us in front of everyone." "The choice," Dad interrupted, "to treat our granddaughter like she's disposable. To favor one child over another until it poisoned this whole family. To tear up an 8-year-old's handmade card because your pride matters more than her heart." The movers closed up their truck with a metallic bang that made Mom flinch. I shouldered my purse, keys cutting into my palm as I gripped them. "You can't leave." Mom's voice rose, hysteria creeping in. "After everything I've done for this family?" "Everything you've done?" The words escaped before I could stop them. "Dad worked 60-hour weeks at the garage so you could stay home. I paid your bills when his pension wasn't enough. And what did you do? You took and took until there was nothing left to give." Dad picked up his suitcases. "Let's go, honey." We walked to my car together, our shadows stretching long across the manicured lawn. Behind us, Mom's voice rose in a shriek of accusations. Neighbors peered through windows, adding fresh gossip to their collection. I turned at the car door, meeting her eyes one final time. "You don't deserve to be called her grandmother." The drive home unspooled in silence. Dad stared out the window, one hand absently rubbing his bare ring finger. I focused on breathing, on the steady hum of tires on asphalt, on anything except the hollow ache in my chest. We were halfway home when he spoke. "You did the right thing." "Then why does it hurt so much?" "Because you're a good person, Lena. Because you love deeply enough to feel the loss." He reached over, squeezing my hand. "But sometimes love means walking away." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. In my pocket, the pieces of Hazel's card crinkled with every turn, reminding me that some things, once broken, can never truly be fixed. But maybe they could be rebuilt into something stronger. A week later, Hazel burst through the front door, her backpack bouncing against her spine as she ran to Walter. "Grandpa, look what I made in art class today." She thrust a watercolor painting toward him, spots of blue and green paint still glistening on her fingers. I watched from the kitchen doorway, my heart clenching at her innocent enthusiasm. Walter's eyes met mine over her head as he crouched down to examine her artwork. We'd managed to protect her from the rawness of what happened at the birthday party, but someday she'd have questions. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Walter said, his voice steady despite the slight tremor in his hands. "Is this our house?" "Uh-huh. And look, there's you sitting on the porch swing." She pointed to a blob of gray that I assumed represented Walter's hair. "What's that on the porch next to me?" he asked. "Your coffee mug? You always have coffee when you watch the birds in the morning." Walter's smile wavered. "You notice everything, don't you?" "Mommy says I'm observant." She struggled with the word, pride lighting up her face when she got it right. "Hazel," Walter said softly, "there's something I need to tell you about Grandma." My fingers curled around the doorframe. We'd discussed this moment, planned what to say, but it still felt like ripping off a bandage. "She's going to be traveling for a while," Walter continued, his voice gentle but firm. "We won't be seeing her for some time." Hazel's brow furrowed. "But what about my dance recital? She promised she'd come." The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. I stepped forward, ready to intervene, but Walter handled it with the grace of someone who'd spent decades navigating difficult conversations. Sometimes people make promises they can't keep, he said, but I'll be there in the front row and your mom and dad wouldn't miss it for anything. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another text from Gloria. I'd stopped reading them days ago, but I could guess the content. They'd evolved from demands to threats, each one more desperate than the last. Later that night, after Hazel was asleep, I found Walter in his room. He sat at his small desk, carefully piecing together the torn fragments of Hazel's birthday card. The desk lamp cast long shadows across his face as he applied glue with surgical precision. "Dad," I said softly, "you don't have to do that." He didn't look up from his work. "Yes, I do." His weathered hands smoothed another piece into place. "This card is more than paper and glitter. It's evidence." Evidence? Of what we're protecting. He finally met my eyes. "Every time I doubt our decision, I'll look at this card and remember why we had to draw the line." Tyler appeared behind me, his hand finding the small of my back. We watched in silence as Walter completed his restoration. The card would never look new again. The tears would always show, but maybe that was the point. The next morning brought a fresh barrage of messages. Riley's name flashed on my screen. "I need $3,000 for tuition. Please, I can't finish my degree without it." I deleted it without responding. 10 minutes later, "Mom says if you don't help me, I'll have to drop out. Is that what you want?" My finger hovered over the block button. "Jay, your choices are not my responsibility," I typed back, then blocked her number. Gloria's messages were worse. They started with guilt trips about family obligation, escalated to demands about her grandmotherly rights, and finally devolved into threats about lawyers and grandparent visitation laws. I forwarded each one to my attorney without reading them fully. The community's response surprised me. Aunt Marlene showed up one morning with a basket of her famous snickerdoodles and a stack of old photo albums. "I've got some stories to tell you," she said, settling at my kitchen table, "about the patterns you're breaking." She spent hours sharing tales of Gloria's manipulation across decades, sisters pitted against each other, financial support wielded like a weapon, grandchildren ranked by their usefulness in maintaining appearances. "You're not the first to see it," Marlene said, squeezing my hand, "but you might be the first brave enough to stop it." The second-hand dealer's invoice arrived a week later. The total value of the items I'd removed from Gloria's house could have funded another year of Riley's education. Instead, I donated it to the Children's Theater, where Hazel took dance lessons, earmarking it for scholarship students. The 6-month mark arrived with a knock at my door. Gloria stood on my porch, her carefully maintained appearance showing cracks. Her roots were growing in gray, her designer clothes slightly wrinkled. "Lena," she said, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. "Please." Walter approached from behind me, holding the repaired birthday card. He'd framed it, the tears still visible beneath the glass. Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was wrong. Please don't keep Hazel from me." I studied her face, searching for real understanding beneath the rehearsed remorse. "Forgiveness might be possible someday," I said carefully, "but trust must be earned." "What do I need to do?" Her question held a desperate edge. "Start by understanding that 'I'm sorry' doesn't erase consequences." I kept my voice steady. "Hazel isn't a prop in your performance of grandmotherhood. She's a child who deserves genuine love and respect." Gloria reached for the framed card, but Walter held it back. "This stays with us," he said quietly, "as a reminder of what matters most." I closed the door softly, leaving my mother on the porch with her tears and regret. Through the window, I watched her walk to her car, shoulders slumped. Part of me ached to run after her, to try one more time to be the daughter she wanted. But I heard Hazel's laughter from the backyard, where she was helping Tyler water the garden, and I knew I was already being the mother my daughter needed. That would have to be enough. Months later, we were celebrating Thanksgiving without my mother and sister. The morning sun spills across my kitchen table where we sit, me, Tyler, Walter, and Hazel. Steam rises from our coffee mugs while Hazel picks at her pancakes, pushing blueberries around the plate with her fork. Thanksgiving looms just 2 weeks away, and the weight of decisions presses down on my shoulders. "What do you think?" Tyler's voice is gentle, his hand finding mine under the table. I watch Hazel arrange her blueberries into a smiley face. "I think we need to be clear about our boundaries." Walter nods, his weathered hands wrapped around his coffee mug. The past months have aged him, but there's a peace in his eyes I never saw when he lived with Mom. Will Grandma and Aunt Riley come this year? Hazel looks up, innocence radiating from those big blue eyes. My throat tightens. I push my mug aside and lean closer to her. Sweetie, remember how we talked about healthy relationships? Sometimes people we love need time to learn how to treat us better. Like when Jenny had to sit in time, out for pulling my hair? A sad smile tugs at my lips. Something like that. Grandma and Aunt Riley made choices that hurt us. Until they can show they're sorry and make better choices, we need to keep some distance. Oh, she pokes at a pancake. Can we still have turkey? You bet we can. Tyler ruffles her hair. And guess who's coming instead? Her face brightens. Who? Aunt Marlene and your cousins, and some friends who've become like family. The actual day arrives with crisp autumn air and the smell of roasting turkey. Our house fills with the warmth of chosen family, Aunt Marlene bringing her famous sweet potato casserole, cousins chasing each other through the living room, friends who stood by us through everything carrying dishes to the table. I pause in the doorway, taking in the scene. Walter stands at the head of the table, carving knife poised over the golden brown turkey. His shoulders are relaxed, his smile genuine as he banters with Tyler about proper slicing technique. There's none of the tension that used to hover over holiday gatherings at Mom's house. No walking on eggshells, no subtle jabs disguised as jokes. The doorbell rings and I open it to find my therapy group friend Sarah with her signature pecan pie. I brought reinforcements, she grins. Twice a week, I sit in Dr. Chen's office, unraveling the patterns of my childhood. Your mother's behavior isn't about you, she often reminds me. It's about her own unresolved issues. The sessions help me understand why I spent so many years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Walter notices me lost in thought and comes to stand beside me. You okay, kid? I lean against his solid presence. Yeah, just thinking about how different this is from last year. He nods, understanding in his eyes. Better different. Tyler appears with plates for the kids' table, pressing a kiss to my temple as he passes. His steady support has never wavered, from the moment I showed him that text about Mom's birthday party to now. Later, I sit on the porch swing, watching Hazel chase falling leaves across the lawn. The setting sun paints everything in warm gold, and I feel the truth settle into my bones. Sometimes the hardest part of family isn't what you do for them, but what you refuse to let them do to you. Inside, laughter ripples through the open windows. These are the people who choose us, who show up not for what we can give them, but for who we are. The peace of that realization wraps around me like a warm blanket. I think about the viewers who might be watching this, who might be struggling with similar choices. This isn't about revenge. It was never about punishment. It's about protecting what matters most, my daughter's heart and yes, my own. Sometimes setting boundaries isn't cruelty. It's love in its strongest form. Love for yourself, love for the ones who depend on you to shield them from harm. The question isn't whether you're being too harsh. It's whether you're being honest enough about what you'll accept. If you were in my shoes, would you let your daughter see her grandmother again? Is forgiveness worth it if the apology comes only after consequences? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary ones. Hazel's laughter pulls me from my thoughts as she races across the lawn toward me, leaves crunching under her feet. Walter watches from his spot by the door, contentment etched in the lines of his face. The sun sinks lower, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, an ending and a beginning all at once. Inside, hanging on the wall of our family room, Hazel's birthday card sits in its frame. The careful repairs are visible, like scars that tell a story of healing. But it's whole again, different but stronger for having been broken and mindfully mended. Hazel crashes into my lap, breathless and grinning. I wrap my arms around her, breathing in the scent of autumn air in her hair. This is family, not the one I was born into, but the one we've chosen and built with intention and love. In the end, that's worth more than any tradition we left behind.